You're not close friends with anyone until you've gone through a conflict, because you will eventually have a conflict, and then you know that's a close friend. When you work it out and you deal with it together and you forgive each other, and then you're okay again. That is a good friend, because you know that's not going to end, that you can go through and weather conflict.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things
with Shawn and Andrew,
a podcast all about couples
and the things they go through.
Today was an awesome interview. We have Jennie and Zac Allen.
That's right. Our audience was really excited about this. They used the word icon when describing Jennie and Zac. So Jennie is a New York Times bestselling author. She is coming out with a book called Find Your People on February 22nd. You might have heard of her other books, like Get Out of Your Head, Made for This, Nothing to Prove, Restless, Anything, and Stuck. She has a lot of books.
Between her and her husband, they had so much advice on building communities, gaining deeper relationships with your friends, your family, and the community around you, and how to get through things like drama and gossip and superficial relationships that we all struggle with.
Which is really important, you know, because you have to make it through conflict to have impactful relationships. So her husband, Zac, was a pastor, and now he does other things like being the CEO of a company called Sport Ice, which we tease a little bit.
He's also a rancher.
Yeah, they have some pretty cool stories.
They do.
And we really enjoy talking with Jennie and Zac. So if you want to find out more about them and what they're up to, we will link information down below that you can check out, as well as the link to her book called Find Your People. Without further ado, we bring you Jennie and Zac Allen. All right, Jennie and Zac Allen, thank you so much for being on the show. It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's great to meet you guys.
Jennie, it's been how many months? It's almost been a year.
I mean, it was before your baby.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Weren't you
I think it was like a month before he was born.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. That I was on your podcast.
Yes.
Which was incredible. It's good to talk to you again.
You know, it was leading up to the Olympics, I think.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's honestly, I'm not going to lie, it's honestly kind of a blur because I was 9 months pregnant. Yeah. I gave birth on the day of the opening ceremonies, and
I cannot believe you
just stood still. Yeah.
That's hysterical that you gave birth on the day of
course.
ceremony.
Of course.
Yes.
It only makes sense, pretty much.
Yes.
We were supposed to actually be there. I was actually supposed to commentate kind of some of it, and then I remember we got pregnant a lot sooner than we expected. And I remember going to the OB the first day, and she's like, "Your due date is this." And I was like, "Why does that sound familiar?" I was like, "Oh, that's the opening ceremonies." Cool.
So for those listening who don't know what we're talking about, Jennie interviewed Shawn on her podcast called Made for This. How many episodes have you done, Jennie, on your show?
You know what? I appreciate that you took a guess at like 200-ish. That's probably generous. I honestly don't know. I have not kept up with it because we don't number them. So I need to go back and look. But I've been doing it about 2 years. So.
Yeah.
And Jennie, have you interviewed Zac yet?
Oh, he is our most popular guest, y'all.
I love that.
My husband is our most in fact, we did a short little series together, and everybody now is like, bring Zac back, bring him back.
Yeah, I'm the mystery guy.
Well, as we were talking before the show, Zac, you would describe yourself as the guy who does ranches, popsicles, and
sells children's books.
Sells children's books.
Yeah.
Please explain.
Which makes it really easy to understand. Basically, it means that I'm not really good at anything, but I have my hands in a lot of things. And so I'm kind of a serial starter. And so best value to an organization, a company, is just on the front side. And when it actually starts going, they need people that are good at things. And that's when I'm out. And so I just kind of move on to the next thing. And so, I find myself in the midst of the start of companies, and I love it. That's where my energy and my value is.
I feel like you and I would get along because I'm the same way. I'm a serial starter, but like you said, once you need someone who's good at it, I'm like, you're good. You just do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. 2022 for us, we've called it the year of hires because a lot of these ideas have started taking a little bit of fruition, and it's just not healthy for us in marriage and family to try to have our hands in all of that.
I think between the two of us, I have 3, maybe 8
Probably
companies.
8 different companies that we're involved in. It's
So
not,
y'all get it.
it's
I was
not
gonna say, this
sustainable.
sounds very familiar. I feel like
not
majority
boring.
of our like arguments and conversations are around who can we bring on to help offload all of these like passion projects we're starting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here's what the word that I heard when I shared that we were going to interview Jennie and Zac Allen was, oh my gosh, they're icons.
Yes.
So it is pretty amazing to look at what you guys have built and what you guys are doing, how you're impacting lives. It's pretty amazing. And Jennie, you're joining us today because you have a new book coming out called Find Your People. I would love to hear about this.
Yes. So I saw an issue prior to COVID. This is years ago. I saw that loneliness was on the rise. I was hearing it from everybody we serve. It was everywhere. And I felt like, okay, this is a big problem. And also I traveled to Rwanda, where our son is from, and Uganda and Haiti, and then Europe. We would go to Italy and we would see a whole different way that people lived. And it was more of like a village type existence where there would be 150 people in a small little town in Italy, and they all use the same little grocer. And we stayed in a little Airbnb there, and we walked to the grocer, and it was middle of nowhere, Italy, not the touristy towns, and they were like, who are you? What are you doing here? And they all knew each other. They all knew each other, and everybody in the little grocer was talking and catching up. And I've come home from all of these trips and felt like, what are we missing here that causes us to live so independent and isolated and not connected? And so it was I always like to write books because it's so much work and it takes so long about things that make me curious. And so I was just genuinely curious about the way people live and why here it feels like we're so isolated and disconnected. And so that was the big experiment. And I was super encouraged because what I learned from those villages is that we can recreate a lot of those things, even in a big city. My husband and I were in Dallas. And so it's not at all like that little town in Italy, but I do think we can have some of those traits and characteristics in our lives here as well.
You have said before in interviews that the most common question you get is, how do I make friends?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Kind of, that is, and it's crazy. But then a couple of questions to that. One, why do you think that is? Why do you think people are so lonely and are so, I don't know, they hold themselves back from reaching out for community? I feel like it's so hard for an individual to go on a date, let alone go meet a friend. And
that's right.
Is that just our culture and our society, or is that everybody?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely our culture because most people depend on each other, right? So part of it is our wealth. Part of it is just, and by wealth, I just mean almost everybody in America makes a living wage. You go to a little village in Rwanda, they're farming together. They're going to get water together. Like there's just some natural togetherness that comes when you don't have doors, right? They all they're in huts where they don't have even a door that locks. So the idea that we have what we need, we Amazon it if we don't, and we don't ever borrow an egg. We go to Home Depot and buy the ladder instead of borrow it from a neighbor. Most cultures are dependent on each other. And so the number one thing I hear from people is, I'm too busy, or I've been so hurt, or I've tried over and over again and it hasn't worked. There's so many reasons that it's difficult here, but and it's real and we've got to overcome it. But I've found that people, if you're not the only lonely one, if you know that there's other people that are lonely, it makes you braver to ask people to get together. And you have to expect rejection. You have to expect it on the first, second, third try that maybe it's not going to click for you, or you just, that they're too busy, or maybe they already have their group of friends, but eventually you're going to get a yes. And I always say, would it be worth it to you if I told you after 5 attempts that were difficult and you felt a little bit rejected, you had a friend for life? Would you do it? And everybody says yes, So you have to assume that at some point you're going to find people that you enjoy being with, and it's just work. That's the bottom line. It's work. And we have to choose to do it. But here's the thing. It's so much fun. And we just moved to Dallas about 5 years ago and had to start over. And it was so overwhelming. So we really get that it is overwhelming and daunting. But we feel like we have so many friends now that we will count friends till we die if we stay here. Like they are that kind of level of friend. But it has taken a lot of initiation. And I think, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. It's very hard. There's a lot of barriers to cause this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Zach, would you describe yourself as an introvert or extrovert?
I'm actually an introvert. Yeah,
Really?
I fuel up by being alone, but it confuses people a lot of times.
Well, he's really outgoing and the last one to leave if we're in a public setting, the last one to leave party, last one to leave church. Like he's just all in with people when he's with them. But I do think, yeah, he does pick.
I will
alone.
go to a movie theater and watch a movie by myself and be just fine.
Yeah.
So if that says anything.
Jenny
couldn't do
What
that.
about you guys?
Go ahead.
No.
No. I'm
I'm
super
introverted. I'm introverted.
Yeah.
That was actually a huge kind of like tension spot for us when we started dating and got married. Was I am so introverted that going to like group settings, I would just like ball up and I'd be like, I don't know how to talk to people. This is very awkward. I'm very shy. And he is polar opposite. And he's like, babe, just talk to someone. Just say hi. I'm like, I don't know how.
Yeah, it has caused like there's kind of like a misunderstanding of like why aren't you excited to go hang out with this big group of people we've never met before? I love that. I love getting to meet new people. But I'm curious. So for speaking of people who do have, I don't know, like social anxiety or they don't feel confident meeting new people, what are the lessons that you could share with them?
Yeah. So the great news about this is it's not adding something to your life. It's actually looking for the people that are already in your life. Likely you have neighbors, you have coworkers, you have people that you're seeing at your kids' soccer games. Like you probably have people in your life that you maybe haven't noticed or you haven't invested in. And so I don't think it's something that should come as a huge add-on or addition to what you're already doing. I think you should look in the fabric of where you live and how you're already living, because those are actually going to be the people that you most easily run into and see the most often. And so what I saw from village life is that proximity mattered, vulnerability and transparency mattered, that accountability, that most villages are set up with a lot of accountability built into them. Meaning, for instance, when we moved near family, all of a sudden my kids were not just accountable to us, but their grandparents were going to come to the game that they can't even be on anymore because they missed practice. And now they have to call their grandparents and say, hey, I missed practice. And there's just built-in accountability when you're doing life with people that are, for people, especially raising kids, when it says it takes a village, this is what it means is they're okay disappointing us, but they really didn't want to disappoint their grandparents. So there was something really cool about moving closer to family and seeing that accountability come. And then you see that they're on mission together. And mission for all of us can look like, I mean, they're having to gather and hunt and do all these things, but mission for all of us could be soccer games with our kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just doing things together. And then the last thing is just consistency, that you don't quit when it gets hard, because we all know that is a huge temptation in our world. And so for the person that's got social anxiety, I would just say you're probably around people anyway, and you probably don't need to go to a party to meet people. Mm-hmm. You probably could just meet them for coffee, someone from your kids, school, or someone, if you're single, from your apartment complex. Like, how can you just invest in one person that's already around you rather than feeling like I need to really put myself out there or get on Bumble or do something crazy to meet people? You really can, I think, find it in the fabric of your lives.
Man, the not quitting part really hit me. We've had several, when I feel like you're out of college and you're an adult, especially when you have kids, the random social interactions, like just the volume of those decreases, I feel like. So like, the most recent event that we've been to where we were around a group of people we'd never met was like our daughter started school. And so like we're meeting all these new parents, right? But yeah, so we've had friends where we haven't been able to invest as much time because, they moved 30 minutes away, 40 minutes away. And so we interact, but there's like conflict. And there's been a couple times where like, gosh, should we just like walk away from this? Cause this is frustrating and it's annoying and they hurt my feelings. But if the goal is to actually have deep connection, then pushing through that conflict and like actually understanding each other in a deeper way, I feel like is so powerful. So that's my random tangent of thought. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. We all know these past few years have been extremely hard for so many people.
And being isolated doesn't help when you need someone to talk to.
Speaking of that, I wanted to give a shout out to one brand that we've loved working with, and that's BetterHelp. BetterHelp actually helps to assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist.
Yes, they are awesome. You can even start communicating in under 48 hours with your matched therapist. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy.
Yes, and it's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available, which we love.
So visit betterhelp.com/EastFam. That's better, HELP, and join over the 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are actually recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. Our Couple Things listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/EastFam.
We'll also link it down below.
Jennie and Zac, how long have you been married?
This May, we will celebrate how many, Jenny?
25 years.
25.
Oh my
No
gosh,
way.
that's
Let's go.
awesome. Wait, isn't that like, that's like a big one.
We should take a trip. We should do
You should do
he's got
something.
it.
What?
He's already got it planned.
I probably should get on that.
He's already planned it. He just won't tell me what it is. I know he planned it.
I'm nervous for you,
Wait,
Zac.
Zac, are you a planner like that?
that?
He loves planning. Oh my gosh. He's like a concierge.
So I am a closet concierge. If you have a trip that you want to take,
Yeah.
I've probably thought of it, and kind of even if I haven't taken it, I've planned it in my head. And so
Wait.
just Andrew, call me up.
I'm
And
going to
Please,
get your
Andrew,
cell phone number. 'Cause
Andrew,
I'm
please
the
talk
opposite.
to my husband.
But
He doesn't plan.
I'm the-
He doesn't plan.
So, but part of this is who I married. Jenny loves surprises. She grew up with a dad that loves surprising her, and so and also she's an Enneagram 7, and so she'll do hard work, but she wants to know the payoff. Like she wants to know that on the backside of
There's
something,
a reward.
there's a reward coming.
Babe,
and so
this is me.
that's 25 years of marriage. So.
We're still working these out, but I'm the same way. I will work as hard as anyone, but I've got to know there's like a reward on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long have y'all been married?
It'll be 6 years
In April.
in April.
Yeah.
Okay, well, were our least favorite. Y'all seem perfectly happy and awesome, but it gets better, y'all. It gets so much
It
better.
does.
Year 6 was your least favorite? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we were in
Yeah.
massive marriage counseling
Yeah,
at
we
year
were-
6.
Years 5 through 7 were the hardest.
Yeah.
2 kiddos, 2 toddlers at home.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was rough, y'all.
I married a fighter. I was about keeping my composure.
Oh, y'all. I would try
we
to have a
didn't know how to
fight.
conflict at
I
all.
would try to have a fight with him, which I needed to have because I had things to say, and he would turn over and go to sleep. Like it was terrible. We got counseling, and it changed everything.
because it
and-
was better for me to say nothing than to say the wrong thing. So I would just turn over and go to sleep thinking it'll just be better in the morning.
And it is.
And
No.
it
It is,
It's
dude.
not.
Are you
It
freaking?
until she's like,
Oh no, I was just storing it up. I was all
Exactly.
it was
I
gonna
feel like
come
I'm
out.
having a conversation with our future selves right here. This is
Yeah.
so weird.
I will say we are doing great. We love each other. We love our marriage, everything. But kids throws a whole different aspect into it. And
That's
people
it.
don't prepare
Yeah.
you for that. People prepare
No.
you for the hardship of children, but
Yeah.
not for the hardship of marriage with children.
and young children. I think
Yes.
those are the hardest years on a marriage because you're so tired.
Yes.
You're just in survival. Everything
Yeah.
is survival. And I always get sad when I see people divorcing with young kids because I'm like, no. Like just hang on. It gets better. You're eventually gonna get to leave them at home and not get a babysitter. Like things
Mm.
really do like turn
Yeah.
a corner when they're all independent and you can like look at each other again and be in love again. And you're like, oh yeah, I remember why I married you. But yeah, nobody's their best self in toddler years.
Yeah. So we
So-
have a
rough.
2-year-old and a 6-month-old. So we're in the thick of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
This actually brings me to a question back to the theme of your book. Like in marriage, I feel like my perspective has shifted from, hey, like let me get married so, I could marry my best friend and spend a lot of time with them to some extent. Or like you have a friendship because, oh, this is fun and we're always doing an adventure, or I like, whatever thing we do together, to no, like the purpose is to love another person, like to know Shawn and to be known. And I feel like that helps in times of conflict, like see the way through, because it's not about, oh, I'm not having fun anymore, or this is difficult. It's like, no, I view now these difficult times with kids as the next, boss that we have to beat in the video game of marriage to, like, understand what comes next. But I'm curious how you view relationships, or if I'm way off, how do you guys approach that?
I mean, here's the thing is we are both hardwired, gonna go change the world people. Like that's who we are. And so I remember when our kids were young, somebody said to us, in fact, we were pregnant with our first, somebody said, there's two ways to view your family. You can put your children in the center of your circle, or you can add them to your circle and put the world in the center. And what that means is not leaving your kids all the time or anything like that. It just means they go with you. Like you still have a life and you still have visions and dreams, but you do that together as a family. And I think we've raised a team. I mean, we really feel like a team. Our kids are very committed to each other and very committed to make a difference in the world in all different ways. Each of them is wired as an entrepreneur, weirdly. And we have our daughter who, is doing photography and wants to do humanitarian photography. And we have our son who started a fly fishing camp when he was 14. And now he's about to graduate college and he's launching that company as an outdoor company called How to Outdoors, everybody. And he'll be so proud I mentioned that. And he's just figuring it out, like how to help the next generation get outdoors. That's his vision and dream. And so you've got each of them with these different little dreams that they have. But I think it came from all of us doing that together. And they watched, my husband was a pastor for a long time and he was starting a church. And so we just set up chairs every week. Well, they did it with us, and I think there's something about just doing life together, whatever it is, whatever passion you have, rather than feeling like, oh, our whole lives have to revolve around our kids. It's so much more fun to go, you know what? Our lives revolve around helping people and serving people. Y'all come with us as we do that. And then I think it builds a culture and a family that's really close.
And I think we can now say, with our oldest being 22 and 25 years into marriage, like, what about this experiment? Like, has it worked? Yeah, it worked.
They are awesome.
They're thriving. They don't resent not being the center of our family. In fact, they're so thankful, and it's modeled to them of going, they want to also raise their kids in that same way, that we all come alongside. We're a team on a mission together.
So then if somebody's headed out somewhere to do something, whether it's play a sport or whatever, we're all like cheering them on. There's this sense of we send out from our family that is healthy and awesome. And then they bring in, right? Like they bring in, and it sounds like I'm bragging, but I think it's good for people to hear that there's healthy, good families out there. Like I think for so long, I thought, gosh, all families are broken and I'm not saying we don't have our big bad problems in our family, but we own those and we talk about them, and there's constant apologies in our house. And I just think it's fun. And the reward that's coming, you can't see this when you have babies. You can't see this when you have toddlers. The reward that's coming is you're raising your friends. You're raising your future favorite people, and I would say that's how we feel. Like there's nobody we'd rather be with on a Friday night than our oldest kids. Like they are so fun. Now the youngest one, we love him, but he's in 7th grade, y'all. He doesn't have a frontal lobe. Like we're still massively parenting. We're still in process there. But the ones that we've raised, we're like, gosh, that was worth it all. Like they are so fun and we like them. And it makes life really rewarding and fun, but you can't see that. I wish somebody had painted a better picture of that when we had diapers and toddlers and it felt like, what are we even doing? And life is over. It really is an investment into something that you're going to love later.
I love that.
What about so you guys kind of, would you say you work together? Is that a fair?
Beside each other.
Yeah. Beside
Somebody
each other.
told us you really need to have your own, you're both directional leaders. And so you really need your own movies to direct. Like you really need your own places to lead.
We're good consultants for each other.
Yeah.
So like
we don't
like run things together or we'd kill each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it just wouldn't last long. We would try and go, no, that
interesting. So
so he's in charge of his things and I'm in charge of mine. And then we visit each other and we love each other's opinions on our work, but we don't. Yeah.
I'm curious, Zach, I want to take a little tangent. Your time as a pastor. I don't want to I feel like we could have an entire conversation about this, but summarizing your entire time as a pastor, because we talk about relationships, because we talk to married people, singles, dating. Is there one piece of advice from your time as a pastor, witnessing all the changes and journeys people are taking within a church, that you would give to people in relationships? I guess marriages, probably.
So that's the beauty of being a pastor, is that you are let into people's lives in a really intimate way. And that's the part of it more than probably anything that I miss of having that kind of place in people's life. It's super tender and super vulnerable, and super sacred. And so what I would say to people is, go find that church, go find that community of people to plug into, that you can walk with people beside, just because we live even in a church community. I mean, everything is so fragmented in our society, or we've gone through pandemic where nobody could attend things in person. And so there's this real sense that that we haven't seen each other. We haven't been in bodily form in proximity to people. And there is just we're looking at each other on a screen, and it's awesome, but how much better is it when we're actually on couches together in the same room with people, rubbing shoulders? There's some real exchange and real quality of relationships that you just can't get. And so that's what a church, a community of faith can offer to people. And we're all sitting here, we're all looking for mentors, we're looking for help. We're all trapped in our season of life and our circumstances. And if we don't have that extended community and wiser people that have walked through this with us, we're going to be stuck. And so I would say, go find your people.
We always just say, don't fear counseling, because counseling really did change and save our marriage. I would say we were at a place where I said, I don't believe in divorce, so I'm not going to divorce you, but I would if I did believe in it. Like I was really committed to marriage, but I was that unhappy, and that was kind of my cry over the bow. And so we started going to counseling, and it really did bring us so much understanding. I have another couple that we're great friends with right now that's in it right now, and it's reminding me of all the power of it. But it's basically tools that people have in their hand all of a sudden. It's like a hammer and nails, right? It's like, oh, I didn't know I needed to communicate this way. I didn't know my wife needed this. Like, it's just when you're sitting there, in alone, which we've all been together a lot, right? In the last few years, in your house, there is just it's hard to have perspective. And what an outside, it can be a mentor or, pastor, a counselor can do is give you perspective and help you know how to bridge gaps that are inevitably there, right? Every marriage, of course, marriage is hard. It's two very independent people that are completely different from each other trying to live together. And it is, of course, it's hard.
Yeah. And there's no magic to counseling. I say counseling only works if it works. Like if two people or one person, if you're single, if you want to grow and you want change and you want people to speak into your life, like that's going to happen. You taking the initiative to do that. But what a counselor does, it's this independent, neutral third party that can hear both sides, and oftentimes they can repeat the same thing to your spouse or to your significant other that you've been saying, but all of a sudden you can hear it because that person is not the source of the hurt. And so there's nothing super magic. Yes, they're trained and you want to pick good ones rather than bad ones, but there's something really great about having a neutral third party, a wise sage that you can go to.
And one more thing about that. I think we think of counseling as something you do when you're absolutely desperate. And we always tell people you should have a counselor handy. Like, you should just know the one you want to go see. And when you get to a place where you feel stuck, go, because that's how you prevent getting to that dark place. And I think, the reason we have a healthy family, the reason we have a healthy marriage is all of those early years, the investment we put in. It was not something that just happened. It happened because we worked really hard at it.
Today's video is sponsored by Hop Water. I want to tell you all about Hop Water. We actually did a video just now with them. Delicious stuff. It's a game changer, though, when it comes to having a great hop. I've been loving their blood orange flavor. It reminds me of my favorite beer, but it's just a sparkling beverage.
Hop Water is a non-alcoholic sparkling hop water crafted with functional ingredients for added mood-boosting benefits. I love the fact that it doesn't bust up diets, it's gluten-free and keto approved, plus it has no calories, carbs, or sugar. Each can is bursting with a crisp, citrusy, piney taste.
Those were some fantastic adjectives you just used there. Crisp, citrusy, piney. I'm in. There are so many great flavors, though. They have their classic flavor, they have mango, blood orange, and the new lime.
It's time to crack open a cold one with Hop Water, the healthy way to hops. For a limited time, we have a special offer just for our listeners. Get 20% off your first purchase. Plus, get free shipping when you order 24 cans or more. To get this offer, go to hopwater.com. That's HOPWTR.com. And use our promo code EastFam to get 20% off plus free shipping.
Don't wait. This offer won't last long. Go now to HOPWTR.com and use promo code EastFam. Don't forget EastFam so you don't miss out on this offer. We'll also link it down below. Yeah, Shawn and I, that was one of our resolutions last year to go to a counselor 3 times.
At least 3 times a year.
And
I love that.
Yeah.
And so we met with one.
Because that counselor now knows you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
there's not any fire. Maybe there aren't fires to put out.
Yeah.
But those first few sessions, they just have to get to know you. They can't be helpful until they've taken in that. But if you guys hit a major bump or there's major suffering in your life that you need, you guys could jump in with that counselor now
Right.
because they know you.
And there's a trust that, hey, they're not going to choose her. I don't feel like
Yes.
the counselor's choosing her side. And, we have a previous relationship. But we met with one of these counselors and she was like, okay, so what's going on? And we were like, oh, nothing. We just want to do like maintenance, make sure we're all running smoothly.
That's awesome.
And she was like, in my 7 years of doing this, I've never had a couple come to me just without. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is wrong. This needs to change. So
That does. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm curious. So, what social cadences do Jennie and Zac have together? Maybe on like a weekly basis. If you're going to print out like a template schedule of, hey, we go to church together. Jennie and I do, and we're around a lot of people, and we do group game nights or whatever. Because I feel like that was one thing that when Shawn and I have been through rough patches, you want to balance it out. But one thing that helped is spending time with other people just to get your head out of the immediate situation and back up a little bit. And to your point about being mission driven, like again, when I feel like whenever you're serving somebody that puts things in perspective, you're like, oh, you know what? Her not closing the cabinet doors wasn't that big a deal probably. But social, like friends and having close community, as you were talking about, Zac, is a big part of providing perspective. So what does that look like for Jennie and Zac?
First of all, I love the question because I do think if something is just set in your calendar, in fact, I did it this morning. We have a little group that we get together as couples once a month, and then we get together as girls once a month. And so today, one of the girls sent the schedule for the semester. And what's awesome is I'll go plug that in my calendar and we don't have to plan it. They know it's at my house. They know it's at 7 p.m. and we know what we do. Like it's all set. So as long as we just get it on the calendar, there's not a lot of thought. I think when we're thinking, oh, we should spend time with people. Yeah. And then you try to book it and it's hard to book and where are we going to go? And it just is a lot of work versus saying, you know what, I'd love to start this little gathering where we do supper club every month, or we do book club, or we do small group, or whatever it is that you do together. And so we have them over and it's so easy. We keep it easy. We don't eat dinner because that's work, but we, we'll sit there and sometimes do dessert and sometimes do wine. And it's just easy and fun. And then we read a book together right now. That's what we've been doing. And it's a book that definitely impacts marriage, but it isn't just about marriage. And it's just, I think setting times is a good thing. And then you have a small group of guys.
By putting in your calendar, like literally, hey, we're going to meet on February, 31st. I'm booking in the calendar at 6 a.m. We're going to my house. And then that way, that's so
I'm going to do that
so
today.
much easier.
I'm going through my head. I'm like, I'm going to invite these people and this is going to happen.
It's so easy to do, but it's also so easy to like hey, you text a friend, hey, I would love to get together. And then it never happens because it's like,
right. I think people appreciate it. Like today was another friend that set all the dates and we all were relieved. Like, okay, it's in our calendar. Yeah. I didn't have any conflicts and it was set and that feels good.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I've got a group of 5 guys and we meet weekly, 7 a.m., 7 to 8, an hour on Friday mornings. And we're bringing life together, and it's a way for us to hold each other in check. And yeah, it's a significant commitment, but the only way for us to really be helpful into each other's lives is to meet that consistently, because stuff just goes on. Or if we're traveling, or like if we only met once a month and that somebody had a conflict, like, and they didn't make that meeting, then it's once every 2 months. And how much of life happens in 2 months that you miss out on? And so how can I be a helpful friend if I don't have that frequency in lives? And so I've got a group of guys.
And I do that with girls too. We have a once a week gathering, but it's so easy because we're all close together in proximity. So total, it's 1 hour for us too. And that goes really fast, but we're kind of just going, this is what's going on. And then we can follow up later and know what's going on in each other's lives. So we're really committed to all this right now. All of our kids are big enough that that's easy to do. Yeah. The other gathering, a lot of us have younger kids, or a lot of people have younger kids. And so we just, that takes a little more planning, but I think it's possible even with young kids. It's just bring your kids over. And I think that's the other thing I saw in other cultures was they just raise their kids together. So all the kids are there and they eat pizza and it's not perfect dinner, but it's just fun, and messy. And I think choosing that is a harder choice, but it's a lot easier way to get together with people.
Yeah. And I guess I would say that even if it's messy, even if it doesn't work out perfectly, like it is worth the fight. Even in you guys' season of life where it's just really complicated, like those intentional relationships and having that in your life is worth the fight to make it happen.
Yeah. Shawn's 30th birthday was not too long ago, and we went out to dinner, and one of my friends just had a baby, and so we were like excited to go be with adults because we're in the phase where we're always around kids. And my buddy was like, "Hey, babysitter fell through. Can we bring the baby?" We're like, "Oh, dang it." Yes. But it was like,
But then I spent the entire night holding him because I was like, oh, I love babies so much.
But it was like, otherwise we're not going to see this guy. So I guess, it was such a small obstacle for us to have to swallow. But anyway, it made me think of that. I was challenged recently. I joined a men's group, and the organizer of this had me sign a contract saying, hey, you're going to sit down and go over this contract with your wife, saying like,
I had to sign it too.
Yeah. We've booked all of these meetings. Like we put these on the calendar, and you're saying that you're going to show up, you're going to have prepared, like it was a list of books. You're going to have read those and have notes.
And it stated that I, as a wife, had to be in support of him. Like, so I was basically signing off and saying, I will do what I can to help support him and make sure he makes it to the men's group. And
it was such a good, first of all, I saw that contract and I was like, this is hilarious. And what a joke. That feels way too intense and aggressive for a men's group.
Right.
But then it was an actual really good exercise for me on, hey, what does it mean to commit? Like, we're either going to do this men's group and it be something that's really good that we help each other, build each other, learn from each other, like you're talking about, Zach, or we're just going to be a group of guys who hopefully gets together, like hopefully maybe 40% of us show up at each meeting. And so by the end of it, I was like, this is amazing and so powerful. And later on to that, the fact that I typically operate with like committing to something without talking to my wife. So like that never goes over well, but it was like a really, really good challenging exercise for me to go through with this men's group. But I would actually recommend it to people.
Yeah. But. He's since started his own men's group and he's doing the same thing, which I think is really cool.
Well, that's true. I think that's so interesting because people, you hear that and you're kind of shocked. Like, wow, that's like, we don't commit to things like that anymore.
Right.
But the reality is you loved it so much. Like that guy who ever started that was brave to say something like that, but it has brought such goodness in your life. Right.
Yes.
So I think we are afraid to be intentional and we're afraid to ask for a commitment from people. And then we have shallow relationships and nobody's happy. And we actually don't over years grow together and care about each other and take care of each other. And so I actually love that. I think those are some of the ways you can take like our big cities and our busy lives and actually build things, structures in them that people have had throughout history, because they are all committed to each other. Most people never move more than 20 miles away. And so it is from where they were born. So this is how people have committed to each other for every generation on earth until recently. So it's really cool. And that's a way I'm going to steal that from you. I'm going to make my small group sign a contract now.
Well, yeah.
So good.
I have so many thoughts on like the loneliness and the community aspect and like the depth. And Andrew and we try to be very intentional when it comes to depth of relationships, because something that we started very early on in the dating process is we didn't like superficial things. We don't want to talk about what the sky looks like today. We just don't. We like having philosophical, deep, heartfelt conversations. That kind of is what stimulates us. But we have found over the years that a lot of people have a really hard time going into deep conversation or deep commitments or deep relationships. And usually a lot of that can spark drama, because you're getting to a vulnerable place with someone where they either get defensive or they get embarrassed or uncomfortable. What are your thoughts when it comes to building a community on drama, on gossip, on all those superficial things that tend to happen? Do you keep people within your community who spark that? Do you try to work through it? Do you grow through it? What are your thoughts there?
I'm so excited because you guys have also had teenagers too. So
yeah.
I'm pumped to get that.
Yeah, it's familiar, but you're exactly right. It happens with adults too. We never outgrow it. It feels good to gossip. There's a reason people gossip. It's actually amazing to feel like you're better than someone else, to feel like you've got some information that other people don't have. Like all of that feels good, or we wouldn't do it. So there's a lot of grace to that, because I've accidentally done it too. And I write books about not doing it. So, I think there's a reality to it that it's good to just start with. And so I think people actually, though, I think at their core, they want to be good friends. I think people want to be healthy people. And so I think back to your buddy that made that contract. Throughout the book, I realized I was building rules and rails to something that feels very vague. I never got taught how to be a good friend. I don't remember ever in first grade somebody sitting me down and saying, this is how you be a good friend. You don't gossip. You include other people. I mean, I remember those little things being said along the way, but like nobody put it in the context of this is how you have and make friends.
Yeah.
And so I realized when I was writing the book, that's kind of what I'm writing, and to put in there the basics and to realize that sometimes you need to lay ground rules with your people. And it's a brave thing to do, but like your buddy did, he had you sign a contract. I just think there's something about going, y'all, we don't want to do this. I mean, assume they don't. Assume, you know what? You don't want to be toxic. I don't want to be toxic. I'm tempted to do this too. Let's not do it. Like, let's just choose to not do it. Now, there are people that they love being toxic and they love being dramatic. That is, to me, the rare person, but they exist. And I think if they really want that, that's not going to be a healthy friend to choose or to put in your inner circle. You can keep hanging out with them, but just don't share your secrets. Like they're going to, don't treat them as an inner circle person. I think there's different levels of relationships, and you can keep them out here at acquaintance and go to dinner every once in a while. But that inner circle of safe people, that's going to be a smaller number. And that is where I look for people that are healthy. But even those people are going to gossip sometimes, be unhealthy, not tell me they're upset with me when they are. And then it turns into a bigger deal. All those things happen still. And that's where you learn to do conflict. I tell my kids, you're not close friends with anyone until you've gone through a conflict, because you will eventually have a conflict. And then, that's a close friend. When you work it out and you deal with it together and you forgive each other, and then you're okay again. Dang. That is a good friend, because that's not going to end, that you can go through and weather conflict. And so conflict isn't something to be avoided. It's something to manage and to work through, and it will happen. If you do life the way I'm talking about, it will happen. And the decision you have is this someone worth fighting for? Is this someone to go through the conflict, or do I just let go and start over, which is super costly in the world we live in? We don't have time to make new friends every year. It's just, it's hard to let go of friendships just because there's conflict. We've got to choose to work through it. And And so, yeah, I would say depending on the person, and I say give people a chance, because most people just don't know how to have deep conversations. They've never done it. And the fact that y'all are so good at it, it's almost like, hey, let me ask a great question and test it and see. And when they don't know what to do with it, coach them a little. I know that sounds so elementary, but I think I've learned like people really just need help. They need help of knowing, you know what, this is what I need from this conversation, or come into it and say, hey, I just really need advice on this situation, or I need you to listen. And I think we're afraid to say things like that. And then we walk away disappointed because they talked the whole time, or because, you know, they didn't meet our need. And I'm like, just start by saying, hey, this is what I need right now. And I think it starts to change the trajectory of relationships when we kind of say, I always say to my kids, use your words, say what you need, say what you want. Like, you know, and I think sometimes we hide it, and then we're sad when we don't get what we need, but we never said what we needed.
You're preaching right now.
You know, we have to talk about Athletic Greens. They just raised a bunch of money. They're crushing it right now. And I'm so excited because the product itself is fantastic. And now the business is finally, you know, getting the exposure that it deserves.
I do want to say my mom came to me the other week and she said, honey, I want to up my nutrition game. And she said, if I were to take one thing to kind of put me a step ahead from where I was, what would I take? Because if you know Andrew and I, we are really into the supplement game and the beverage game. And I was like, Mom, if you were to take one thing a day and change your life, it would be Athletic Greens.
With just one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you absorb 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. They have it in different forms. They have little travel packs, which are easy. You just pop one open, pour it in water, stir it up, or you can also buy their larger bag that has scoops. I kind of prefer the travel packs, but that's just me.
It's truly an awesome, healthy addition to your daily routine that can kind of make up for any nutritional gaps you have in your diet. So right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into the flu and cold season. I think we've already started that one here. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every single day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health.
To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/EastFam.
Again, that is athleticgreens.com/EastFam to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
We love it. Try it out if you haven't already. We'll link it down below. Let's get back to it.
Does Dad have any additional thoughts on drama? But your dad, sorry, Zach.
He's like, he's glad he's a guy. But your boys have had drama plenty.
Yeah, but they take after you. Drama part.
No, not just our sons. Yes, they are very dramatic, our sons. But I mean, you're in your group. Like, y'all have had to work through things, and I feel like y'all have had to work through more than us sometimes.
So guys, they bond shoulder to shoulder before they bond face to face. Usually, that's how guys' relationships usually start. But
examples of that, like sports,
or just working, just using your body, sports.
So a lot of guys, it's like join a basketball league, or do something.
And so there's that. This is my guy. Before a lot of times that I'll get face to face, and then I have a real relationship with them. And so we've gotten there with our small group, and so we'll be face to face. And I think the cool thing about guys, sometimes it's harder for girls to work through conflict. They'll be catty and they'll talk about it, but guys just we're going to go fight, and we're going to go at each other, and we're going to work through it. And so I've got a group of guys that will say the hard things to each other. They'll do it in love. We've had enough time together where there's trust there, that I know that they're not bringing something to me that they have seen as a pattern in my life. They won't attack my character, but they'll say, your behavior is not reflective of the character that I know you have. And so it doesn't diminish me of kind of who I am and my identity, but it does say, Zach, everything that we've seen in your life, this is not a healthy pattern. This behavior is not. And I want to show it to you. You may not be able to see it.
That's so good. I've been thinking about that when we like argue in our marriage. The first instinct I have with Shawn is to be like, you never take out the trash. And that's like, it's such a ridiculous statement because she
always
has
say it's like blanket statements.
Yeah. But to flip that and be like, you know, as you're saying, your behavior here in this instance and like making that criticism small and calling out it's so unlike the Zac that I know or the Zac that, you know, I've seen.
That's right.
It's like it's a very powerful, you know, different way to go about it.
Because it builds up what you know about that person. Like, I believe in you. I've seen it. I know this to be true. This is odd.
Yeah.
This is odd. This is not reflective. And so, so you can receive, it's easier to receive because it's not, my character is not being attacked.
Okay. Fun question for you guys. You guys have been married almost 25 years. In your 25, how long did you date before you got married?
A year of dating, a year of engagement. We got married as little baby kiddos.
Yeah, we were very young.
We were like
20.
We were 20. Okay.
That's awesome.
So
and then we accidentally got pregnant, which I know how it works.
Accident.
But anyway, it still was an accident, and it was you know, we were young there too, 22. So yeah, it's been a lot of life.
So
some people, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was saying in your 27 years together, that math is right?
Yeah.
What's your favorite date you've been on?
So good.
That's yours to answer, actually.
Yeah, I know. I can see that. So what comes to mind is I love dark restaurants.
Yes.
With candlelight.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That are quiet.
Yes.
That and I don't know why. I live in Dallas, so there's just not a lot of those. Like there's not, all of the places we go are like Mexican, like loud. And so to me, like every awesome long date we've had has been it's just a really intimate environment. And the best is, I mean, we've spent most of our lives very, very poor. And so he was a pastor, and that was about, you know, we just didn't have a lot of money. We had a bunch of kids. And so we would have to figure out we couldn't go on trips together. So we would get one night away and get a sitter for one night. That felt all doable. And we did that probably 3 or 4 times a year. And so when I look back at our married life, that saved us because we didn't have to be home at a certain time. We actually got to go to one of those dark restaurants and like talk for hours and not worry about getting home. And so I think that's when I look back over our marriage, like those are some of my best memories, is just that one night and total, right? That was like $300 to do that night.
But if you get 2 nights, it's even better.
If 2 nights is better because then you can sleep in the next day.
Yeah.
Relax, stay the whole day.
The sleeping in is key. The sleeping in is key. Yeah.
Yes.
Zac, what about you?
I would say the kind of those quarterly, in that season of life with young kids, it was what we could afford. It was where we could drive to. We found a favorite bed and breakfast that
you were friends with the guy, and he gave us a really good deal.
Yeah, he gave us a great deal. But it really felt like that we were escaping.
Yeah.
And so those are great memories. Probably even better memories, maybe even than the long trips that we've taken since. In fact, you won't take a long trip with me.
I know.
Right?
Eventually we get tired of each other and we are not made to like sit around. We can sit around for 2 or 3 days and then we're good.
So I really had to stretch her.
Bored.
So we're going to go on a 25th anniversary vacation.
And I said 3 nights.
She said 3 nights, and I had to work hard to stretch her to 4.
It better be a good place. It better be a good place. We better have some things to do. We need to go take some excursions or something. Anyway,
I will say we do have a 3-night thing as well.
Yeah.
Because
you do?
Yes, because we always say, I would so much rather leave somewhere just like begging to stay longer than ever leave a place and be like, oh,
I was bored.
We should have left yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we always say it's like that 3 nights. The 3 nights is like, I want more. The 4th night is like, oh, we should have gone home.
So sorry, Zac. Sorry, Zac.
It'll be a good trip. It'll
be a great
excursions
trip.
after this. He'll be like, travel planning. Better.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
I don't know. Yeah. The answer to what our favorite date has been, I do think there is something to like the idea that even though you can do something like with whatever resources or time available that you have, doesn't always mean that you should or that that's the best thing to do. Like, especially in our marriage, I feel like the instance that comes to mind that was most special was I had just gotten released by the LA Rams, and Shawn met me in Moab, Utah, and we went on like a 2-day camping trip. This was before kids now, but like it was, we could have stayed at a hotel or whatever, like, rented a cabin, but we went camping, and there was something about just us, I was sad and she was there for me and we were talking, but we had this really special moment together where.
And the best part of that is we had never camped before and we didn't own any camping gear. So we went to like used, we went to like Goodwill,
slept in a used
store.
Sleeping bag, which I would not recommend, but anyway.
But it was great.
Okay, but Shawn, my respect for you just went up so high.
You're not a camper, Jenny?
I didn't marry that girl.
I will say, he took me on an RV trip, and it was just 2 nights, and I was like, never again. I mean, I had a bathroom and I had a bed, and I still was like, no.
That's
I mean, to that, I will say I am 1000% not that girl either. So that was like that was like, I'm doing this for you, babe. His dream,
it's his favorite.
His dream in life is to do like a rough and tough RV trip across the country with our babies, like at the age that they're on now. And I'm like, never in a million years.
If I had it my way, we would own nothing except for like an RV and like 3 pieces of clothes each, and just like be nomads. But
he didn't marry that girl.
But
yeah,
that is absolutely
thank you, Jenny. It will never happen, but it is what it is.
It's good. It's good you know that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jenny, Zac, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
We loved it, guys.
This was really fun. Check out Jenny's
y'all ever come to
new
Dallas?
book.
Let's grab dinner.
Yes,
I'm
please.
super down. I'm gonna get your number after this, Zac. All right, because I want vacations. But check out Jenny's new book called "Find Your People," and also her podcast called "Made for This." Jenny's written some amazing books.
Yes,
including "Get Out of Your Head." But anything that she writes, would highly recommend. So thank you for sharing some of your thoughts and research with us, and keep an eye out for Zac too, because he's got projects in the works.
Yes.
Sport ice. I'm just gonna say it. I better freaking get some of the first. These look amazing, so I'm pumped.
Yes.
But we'll also link all the good stuff down below. But thank you guys again.
Thanks, guys.